Hi, financial advisors. Elizabeth Reider with Indigo Marketing Agency, and I'm so excited you're here today. We have a wonderful industry influencer guest today, Bill Cates. If you've ever been on a strategy conversation with me, you know that one of the first questions I'm going to ask is if you have a niche or a specialty. If you don't, they usually follow that up with, well, have you heard of a guy called Bill Cates? I have learned so much from Bill over the years. I have his book sitting on my desk all the time. It is well loved. I've gone through and highlighted it so many times. I know you're going to get a lot out of today's presentation, and he's going to answer a lot of those top questions that advisors ask when they're deciding whether or not they should hone in on a specialty. So thank you so much for joining us, and I can't wait to get started. Did you know that your riches are in the niches? Today with Bill Cates, we're going to help you conquer your fears of niche marketing. Before we jump into the webinar, I want to tell you a little bit about my story. So I'm a former chief marketing officer for a top-tier independent advisor. I started out on track to become an advisor and quickly really fell in love with marketing. I realized that advisors needed quality advice when it came to implementing strategies. And I think those early years, para planning, processing ACADS, RMD, and the list goes on, so uniquely equipped me with the ability to understand the inner workings of a truly independent advisor's office and their marketing needs. I have a bachelor's degree in information systems management from the University of South Florida, and I hold a life, health, and variable annuity license as well. But that's enough about me. Let's talk about Bill. So today I have the pleasure of interviewing legendary referral coach, author, and speaker Bill Cates. With over 25 years of industry experience, Bill has published 3 best-selling books about marketing for financial advisors. He's also developed the Cates system of relationship marketing and currently hosts the Top Advisor podcast. He has developed a proven strategy to help advisors find and refine their right fit clients. So thanks so much for being here, Bill. Your mission is so similar to what we believe at Indigo Marketing. We're committed to helping independent advisors serve more people, maximize their marketing dollars, and minimize the time spent on marketing. We understand that when advisors switch to a focused, strong marketing strategy, it helps them cut through the noise and ultimately enjoy their business and life more. They can work with clients they enjoy spending time with, and their future is in their own hands, giving them a sense of empowerment to be able to not only enjoy their life, but build a business they love. Let's talk about your story as a financial advisor. You've got a lot on your plate, and the marketing tactics that used to work just are not cutting it anymore. Wouldn't you like to get more of those A-plus clients you love working with without cold calling and endless lead generation tools? I know I would. It's not easy to get new clients, and it often can lead to confusion, frustration, despair for many advisors. It really doesn't have to be that way, though. There are marketing strategies that work, and niche marketing is really one of them. So if you could relate to any of the questions on the previous slide, then you're in the right place, and it's probably time that you consider niching down. Turn your frustrations over marketing into an action plan to attract more of the clients you love working with. Many of the advisors we work with initially think of niching down as another marketing scheme, one that involves a lot of work with very little payoff. But that couldn't be further from the truth, and Bill is going to shed some light on why. We're going to go through some common questions and concerns advisors have about niching down, along with some real-world examples of advisors have achieved great success by getting super clear in a well-defined target market or niche. Bill, thank you so much for joining me today. I know that over the years, you've seen it all when it comes to advisors honing in on their specialty. So I'm so excited for you to be able to help our advisors with some of the top questions that they face when they're deciding whether or not they should niche down.
You bet. It's always a pleasure to do anything I can with Indigo. You're a great firm, great group of folks. Thank you.
So we'll start off with our first question is, what are the benefits of niching down?
Yeah, there are a lot. I'll go through them quickly, but I've got 7 plus. I kind of have a couple bonus things I picked up recently. So first of all, you're going to know the world better. You're going to know your clients, your prospects better. So you're going to bring better solutions. You're going to know their benefits package. You're going to know their cash flow situation. So more real value. Your messaging is going to become more relevant because you know them and you know the language, the jargon they use. I'll give you some examples of that as we go and with some real examples. But so all of the messaging, of course, is going to be more effective because of that. It's easier to identify prospects. It's kind of hard sometimes to know where to prospect, where to market if, kind of everybody's the market. And so you can get lists, you can all kinds of ways to target these folks with referrals, with other types of marketing. You can produce better results on LinkedIn. A lot of folks, think LinkedIn is a nice new shiny object that's going to produce a lot of results. Well, it can, but what usually works best is when you're honing in on a niche, a target market, you're narrowing, because the messages that you use on LinkedIn, the content that you share is going to be more relevant to the target market. It's going to mean something more to them. It's not going to be just generic advice. You can join forces with other centers of influence. For instance, I met so many advisors who target niches, and they'll find out who are the CPAs, the attorneys, the business consultants, all the different folks who are also targeting that market. And you can join forces, maybe not a formal partnership, but you can do joint webinars and seminars and things with those folks. Just compare notes and cross refer. So a lot of great things can happen there. We all know that COVID has already created an expansion of geographic reach for most advisors. And sometimes when going after a specific target market, you may need to do that anyway. I'm going to give you a couple examples in a few minutes of advisors who have a national reputation. They have a national reach. They even had it before COVID, but COVID's helped everybody in that regard. And then there's that word, reputation. Sometimes I call this reputation approach to marketing and prospecting, two different things, by the way. But when you have a shotgun approach, then it's hard to create a reputation for yourself. It can be done, but it just, God, it takes forever. But when you hone in on a niche, a target market, much, much easier to get known for something, and people know you, they share you with other people. So it's easier to get referrals, easier to get introductions in that target market, vertical market, niche market, whatever you want to call it. And here are the bonus items. So Horse's Mouth has done some research around this. I write for them on a regular basis. And so you can see this, look at the production levels of the million plus advisors. 62% of those folks have a niche, a target market, versus being a generalist. And so can you be successful without niching down? Yeah, of course you can. But it's easier and sometimes do a lot better. You can get more time off sometimes because everything just gets a little simpler. And then what I love about this is satisfaction level. Advisors are happier with their business. The folks that target a niche tend to be happier in the business. And nothing wrong with a little joy in this business, right? So those are the benefits that I've seen. I know I went fast, but it's a lot of good stuff that can happen.
No, that's quite right. And I know that within that, when you're creating your messaging, you're kind of creating that instant empathy for their
Right.
challenges and opportunities, which becomes so much easier with even your centers of influence, with creating that borrowed trust. I know you talk about that a lot in your book in depth.
Yeah. Yeah. Borrowed trust is what the referral, the introduction creates. And that's what we're leveraging, is that borrowed trust. And you're right. Everything gets tighter, easier, more value. And empathy really is the key word here. In marketing, in sales, empathy is not the same as sympathy, right? It's understanding of, appreciation for someone else's situation. So, and you're going to see this as we give you some real life examples in a few minutes, that it just becomes natural that you know their world better, and they see that, they feel that. They need to see that you understand them. They need to see themselves in your messaging. And that's all about the empathy.
And I know a lot of advisors, they're always worried about burning those potential bridges or so many other hurdles. What are the top concerns of advisors when considering niche marketing that you've seen?
Sure. And you kind of mentioned the two is one is If I'm going to go after this target market or these folks, what about my current clients? Do I stop serving them? Are they going to be offended? And the answer is no, you don't start serving them. No, they're not going to be offended. It's not a, you know, cast them aside and go after this group. It's, yeah, keep serving them if you want. I mean, some advisors will scale their business over time, and perhaps some of the legacy clients may go to a partner or junior advisor. Um, and some of your clients know people in the target market. Let's say that you're, in a city where there's a very large employer, and they may know people who work at that. And just let them know, in addition to working with folks like yourself, we're also doing a lot of great work over here with these folks. We've gotten to know their benefits package better, yada, yada. Gosh, do you know anybody that works there? We might be a great resource for them. So, yeah, you don't have to set aside your current clients. And the other concern, big one, is if I just work on these folks here, focus all my marketing, yada, yada here, am I going to miss all this other opportunity over here? And the answer is, well, yeah, you might, but you're going to be so successful here, it won't matter. And talk to anybody who's doing well with a target market, with a niche, and most of them will tell you they wish they started sooner. So that's not something you really have to, it's a reasonable concern, but the truth is it won't be one.
So, can you walk us through the types of a viable target market?
Yeah, there are a few kind of core ones that you see very prevalent in this industry. So, business specific. Uh, you know, uh, Owners of printing companies. I'll give you some examples in a minute of a guy who targets optometrists, another one construction firms. So that's one. Folks in a very specific industry, and generally speaking, the narrower the better. Why? Because you know their world better, your messaging gets better, et cetera, et cetera. Medical practices or other types of professionals like that, counting, attorneys, right? Different types of practice professional folks, not too different from business owners, right? They're business owners of a sort. But then the narrower they are, the more they see that you get them and you understand them. Large companies, large employers. I'll give you a couple examples of that in a few minutes of what folks are doing. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, you get to know their benefits package. You only need one employee to get access to that benefits package. And I've actually found benefits packages online, just Googling them. There's some companies that have them online, don't even realize they're posted online. So more value, right? More empathy, more value, easier success. Colleges, universities, faculty, administrators, both. A lot of folks have done very well in that type of target market. And then I call these affinity groups. So it's a little bit different, but for instance, family with children with special needs, they send their children to schools. They have associations, organizations, so they have a way of communicating with each other, which is important. Philanthropists, I'm going to give you an example of an advisor doing really well. He's got 4.5 billion assets under management because he's working with philanthropic clients. Athletes, another one that a lot of people like to go after. So these are all the types of markets that seem to work very well in our industry. Any follow up to that before I move on with other questions?
Well, one thing that I know I personally have struggled with, and I'm sure other advisors do as well, is what really is the difference between a category and a market?
Yeah. So, and this is important, really. So, a lot of advisors like to say they work with folks who are 5 to 7 years out from retirement. Pretty common, right? That's not a target market because there is no association, gathering point, natural communication channels for those folks. And I'm sorry, AARP is not an association, it's a marketing company. So it's great to target like that, but when you put the two together, so one of my coaching clients works with a lot of Verizon employees, so that's the target market, who are getting serious about retirement category. You put them together and it's very helpful, very powerful, but that's not really a target market. It's a focus, it's an expertise. It's all good. I'm not saying you don't go there, but it's not the same as a target market. By the way, I've got a couple of free guys for everybody watching here. A little more on this, at how to build a reputation, and a little bit around building a website that's more relevant, more empathetic, targeted to a niche. If you just go to radicallyrelevantreputation.com, you can get that. They're free, no gimmicks. Just go get them.
And we'll link them
Oh,
below today's recording as well.
great. Thank you.
So jumping down again, we're going to do, what are the characteristics of a profitable niche?
Yeah, and I don't know that you have to have all of these, but some of them are pretty important. And so let me just list them and chat about it a little bit. So it obviously got to be large enough to spend enough time with it, to make it worth your while, I should say, of time, investment, etc. It doesn't have to be your whole career. It doesn't have to be everything you do, but it has to be, large enough to produce some good results. They have to have the financial capacity for the work you do. If there are certain types of financial planning and products that you sell, et cetera, whatever your orientation is, obviously, if they don't have the financial capacity, the income and the assets, et cetera, then, it's not a good target for you, right? It helps that this target market is stable and growing. Nothing worse than going after a market that's shrinking, at least shrinking quickly. Now, there's some markets that are so large, they probably won't shrink that far in your lifetime, but just be aware of that. Something to consider. Gosh, it sure does help if it's enjoyable and gratifying, right? And that you're helping people, either the personality types that work in that type of organization, or the work that they do and you like serving them. This is why I serve financial advisors of all types, because I think the work you do is important. And so it brings me a lot of gratification to know that I'm helping you reach more people with the incredible important work you do. A network of centers of influence, not critical, but it sure is nice when there's other folks, not competitors, but at least temporary partners to help you hone in together and reach more people. And this one really is an important one. And I kind of alluded to this already, is formal, informal ways of communicating. They have either a real or metaphorical water cooler that they congregate around, or they have associations, groups where they get together. It's how you build that reputation, whether you're writing for a newsletter, doing webinars, seminars, all the different ways, because they're going to talk to others about you. By the way, Elizabeth, the people going more and more virtual, that may challenge some of this a little bit, right? It's not enough that I think it's going to hurt it at the moment, but the more people go virtual, the less they know their colleagues at work, right? Especially if it's full-time virtual. So I'm curious to see how that impacts this, but most people aren't doing that.
I know that another question that some of my advisors are asking me, and occasionally it does stump me when they're saying, I want to pick a niche and narrow down, like let's say engineering, but how narrow should I go? Should I go all the way down and be like, I want to focus on geospatial engineering or aerospace? What would you kind of say to that? Should they really hone in on it very particular, so if somebody's Googling them, they show up immediately? Or could they be a little broad?
Yeah, there's a couple ways to approach this. First of all, the general principle is the narrower, the better, because your messaging is just going to be more and more and more relevant to them, and they're going to see that you get them, which is very, very important. Now, it could be your old target market, or it could be what they call in marketing avatars or personas within a target market. So it could be engineers, or it could be aerospace engineers, but maybe there's a few divisions within that.
Okay.
And so that have different characteristics, demographic, psychographic characteristics. So yeah, the narrower, the better. And there can be kind of strata or, linear types of folks within that. Sometimes people will have a very narrow target market, and then they'll realize that there's kind of other folks that are associated with those people. It kind of makes sense that could become a second target market, that there's a relationship there. It's not two disparate markets. So I hope that that makes sense, that
That helps.
question.
And I'm also taking notes on today's session.
Well, good.
Yeah. So I personally am a visual person. I know advisors would love to see some real world examples of advisors that are effectively using niche marketing.
Yeah, you bet. I've got a bunch. I wish I could show more, but in our time, I'll give you what I can. So, Todd McDonald out of Albany, New York, early in his career, he was going around to, some of the veterans, say, what would you do differently if you started over again? And the most common answer is they try not to be all things to all people. They focus on a target market. So he kind of grew up. He had a lawn mowing business. He had a driveway resurfacing business when he was in college, and so he kind of gravitated towards construction, contractors. At first, he was just all over the map construction. He realized he didn't want to really work with the smaller ones. He wanted to work with the bigger ones. So his target market. By the way, this is his homepage. This is not your typical financial advisor homepage. It's usually a clip art of an elderly couple walking down the beach, right? Talk about empathy just in the visual. If you ask Todd who he works with, he's going to tell you family-owned, closely held, heavy construction companies, right? Very specific. They build runways, they build bridges, they build roads, they build commercial buildings. And so his website screams empathy. I get you. I know you. We work with you. He's got hard hats with his logo on it, has a lot of fun with it. National reputation for doing that. Adam Schmela out of near Indianapolis, optometrists. By the way, I interviewed Adam for my Top Advisor podcast, which I do recommend you check out. His is episode 3. It's free. I'm not selling anything. Just go check out the podcast. So he does optometrists, and what's great about going after optometrists is he told me, he says, since he made the decision to go all in on this, he dabbled with it for a while. He wished he had done it years ago, right? His messaging. Focus on them, national reputation, right? People calling him. His kind of a sub target within this is optometrists that want to sell their business within 5 years. So everyone in the optometry field pretty much knows if they want to sell their practice, they go to Adam, right? That's the kind of reputation that he's created. He's got a podcast. By the way, advisors wonder, should I do a podcast? Well, there's a lot of good reasons to do it. Not everyone should. One way to have success with a podcast is in a target market, because everything you talk about in that podcast is going to be related to those people. So that's often a great tool there. Walter Stith is a former professional football player, offensive lineman. What is it? He was a left tackle, right? That protects the blind side of the right-handed quarterback. So he helps his clients protect their financial blind side, right? It's great little branding. And I interviewed him in episode 19, and he told me, well, I just mentioned this affects the blind side, and clients love it. He works with athletes. He works with college, works with professional, and he also works with a lot of other folks that like the fact that he was a professional athlete. So he certainly leverages that as well. With all the NIL, name, image, likeness money that's going on out there, these college folks, they need some help, and they need the right kind of help and ethical help, et cetera, as we know. I mentioned philanthropic, sorry. So Jeff Chaddock in Ohio, episode 13, he wanted to go, where's the money? And he liked engaging in philanthropic activities. And so now that's what he does. It's in his DNA, he says. And so either he helps clients get engaged in philanthropic activity, and he's done some great stuff, and we talk about it in the podcast, which has attracted people to him. And then he works with folks who already are interested. They have common interests. They have that empathy. They have things in common. And that's where the money is. He's got over 4.5 billion of assets under management. So you want to go where the money is, philanthropic. Large company, Don Hilario, Google, right? Episode number 23. He's created a reputation for himself in Google. He's got a report, a guide that you get from his homepage that talks about big tech. Now, interesting, I've learned this, that you don't necessarily want to splash the fact that you're working with Google or whatever the company name is all over your website, because that might aggravate the company if they think you're trading on their name, on their brand. However, a little bit here and there is okay. And one of the things that he does is he talks about working with Googlers. That's a name that they call themselves Googlers, right? Dennis O'Keefe works with Verizon. They call themselves, or the old timers that are still there getting ready to retire, call themselves phone people. So you learn the jargon, you learn the words, the names that they call each other, and that's that empathy. That's they can see themselves in how you talk about what you do. I'm coaching a gal right now who's actually working with a lot of Costco employees and other warehouse stores like that. They've got incredible savings in their 401k. They've got 2-3 million in a lot of cases. You know, it's blue collar millionaires, and she knows the language that they speak and how to talk about that. So I just love, Googlers. That's good. Great interview, by the way, episode 23. And this is that credibility. It's the empathy. It's also the credibility when they see you're working with other people like themselves. Right? It's that social proof, which is also very important. Reminder of the guides: radically relevant reputation. They're free. Go get them. One last one, I believe, is my last one, is Russ Thornton. This is his LinkedIn profile, by the way. Look at this. I help women in their late 50s and 60s, very clear on the demographic, with retire with clarity, comfort, and confidence. So when you target a market, how you talk about what you do is going to be their words, and they're going to see themselves in the message. Russ is actually particularly good at this. I also just recently interviewed him for my podcast. So, are you on track to retire comfortably and confidently? Lifestyle retirement planning for women age 55 plus. Right. So you're thinking, okay, well, that means if they're not women 55 plus, are they going to be interested? No, they're not. He doesn't care. You want to attract the people you want to attract, and sorry for the strong word, repel the people you don't want. Right. That's the value of how the messaging works. Right. And just the language here. And I welcome you to watch this over again, especially this section. And you can see the language he uses and how he is speaking to his audience in a way that they will appreciate and understand. And that's why he's been so successful. And then he also talks about his why, and why this gentleman is working with women, right? What's his why, how he got started. And by the way, men, yes, you can work with women as a target market, women business owners, women in transition. I've seen a lot of men that find that they do very well working with women. And nothing wrong with that. And some women love to work with other women. Some women love to work with men. It's all out there. The diversity is great. So don't be afraid of that, to the guys as well as the women. So there we go.
Yeah. Well, I know we went fast through a lot of questions, and I did want to ask one more before we get to this last one, is that I know that some advisors, they approach to coming up with their niche by looking at their book of business and seeing who brings in the most money, and voila, that's going to be their niche. What would you kind of think about that strategy?
Yeah, I think it's fine. There's a lot of ways to hone in. It could be where you used to work, where you have history and understanding and appreciation for that group. It could be your most profitable, if you will, clients. Dan Sullivan, strategic coach. Many of you have heard of him and his work. He calls it the biggest check. Who are the folks writing the biggest checks? And so you could go in that direction if you want. You don't have to. That's just certainly one way to look. Doesn't meet the other criteria. Do you like them? Do you like working with them? Does it, is it a good reciprocal bit of joy there as well as good work? Most advisors have been at it for a while. They look at their book and they find kind of clumps of people, right? All these people work in this company. All these people are in the same profession. All these people are part of the same extended family, right? So most veterans will find that, and that's where you want to look. But that is certainly a viable place to look. No question about that.
Are you obsessed with them? Yeah.
Yeah, I obsessed where you just love helping them.
Yeah.
Right. And look, we live in a capitalistic society. We make money by providing value. That's the way it works. I don't see anything wrong with that personally.
Oh, that's great. So my final question then is, when should advisors really get started?
Yesterday. So it's never too soon, and it's probably never too late unless you're going to
Mhm,
retire in a year. But um, so a lot of newer folks don't always, they wonder, how soon should I get involved in this? Well,
mhm,
I think you want to be careful about putting all your eggs in one basket too quickly. I get
mhm,
that, because you want to make sure it is a viable market, it responds well to your value proposition, et cetera. But you can get started pretty quickly. And from a new advisor standpoint, it actually makes your prospecting and marketing a little bit easier. You know where to go, you start to build reputation, you join organizations, et cetera. For veteran advisors, again, I mean, that's a lot of the coaching I do. And a lot of the folks that come to me, and then I often send them to you guys afterwards, is, where do I target? Right. I've been at this for 20 years. I just realize that's good advice. I really should hone down.
mhm.
Right. And they're not sure where to go with that. So it's really never too late to get started in this. And again, as we've already addressed, you're not going to ignore the rest of the business that got you to where you are now, but you might even get excited about kind of a launching off in a new direction, or starting to bringing more people like your ideal clients, your what I call right fit clients. They're just a perfect fit for you, and you're a perfect fit for them.
Oh, that's perfect. Thank you so much for joining us today. I know that advisors got a lot out of today's session. Um, we do offer our total marketing plan, which can help you with honing in on your specialty and kind of making that consistent throughout all of your marketing. So if you're interested in that, please click the link below. We would love to have a free strategy consultation with you. Additionally, I'm going to link below all of the wonderful resources that Bill mentioned. I'm also going to link towards his book because I love it. It sits on my desk. I reference it all the time.
Thank you.
And we will also have a strategy checklist that is linked below that I'd encourage you to go through as well. Thank you so much, Bill, for joining us today. Again, I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Happy to be here.
Let's make it happen together. Our total marketing plan makes it easy to embrace a specialty. Schedule your free marketing strategy call today and see how we can help you attract more A+ clients.